All right, everybody. Season 6 is upon us. I'm kicking it off this week with a very special guest. He's related to me. Yeah, that's right. I have famous people in my family tree. As you can tell, Trailblazing is in the family. All right, but before we get into that, just like season 6, we've done a bunch of episodes. I think it's like over 100 episodes that we've done of the Basement Surge. Thank you very much for sticking around so far, and there's more to come. So, without further ado, let's get into it.
Let's go. Turn up the volume. From the basement of the Empire State, this is the Basement Surge.
3, 2, 1.
Welcome back to the Basement Surge, everybody. Thank you very much for joining me this week. We're kicking off season 6. Pretty strong. Okay. This week on the show, like if you're a fan of Surge, right, you know that I've been doing the summer of radio, and now that it's kind of still summer, I don't know, like, do you technically still consider it summer once school starts? But it's not fall yet. The calendar doesn't say fall, the first day of fall, but so technically for me it's still summer. So I'm continuing the summer of radio here on the Basement Surge, and this week I have a very special guest. Okay, he's related to me. He's my cousin Bobby. He is currently on the Boris and Robin morning show over on 101.5 WPDH over in Newburgh. Okay, and we're going to talk to him today a little bit about his career, because he went from being a sports newscaster on Cablevision to doing a morning show on radio. And it's pretty amazing. I've followed his career through the years, and I hope you guys become a fan. But before we get into that, do me a favor. If you're watching us over on YouTube or listening to us on a podcast listening app, hit that subscribe button, hit that follow button, give us a thumbs up, ring a bell, hit whatever button you got to hit to make sure you get notified of fresh episodes of The Basement Surge. All right, everybody, let's get into the meat of this episode. Bobby, how you doing, Bobby?
Hey there, how's it going? And I don't know about famous. I like to joke that I'm a Z-list celebrity. That's like the lowest of low. Like, there are people who hear me, people who know me. I'm in this Hudson Valley area, but it's the lowest of low. But I appreciate that little setup there, calling me famous.
Well, you are, man. You're the most famous person in the family, I think.
Oh, well, thank you. We set up a low bar in the family, but this is pretty cool to get to talk to my cousin here on your podcast.
Yeah, thank you very much, man, for taking the time out. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, I'm excited for this. I'm gonna feel the surge.
Right, yeah, man, feel the surge. Oh man, so yeah, so that's like a tagline that I kind of came up with, because it was funny, because I was trying to figure out how to market the show when I first started. And everybody and their mother was saying, you need to make your own hashtag. And I was like, all right. I went through a couple different ones that I really didn't like, but I came across Feel the Surge, and I think it's perfect. So.
No, I like it. It pops. It definitely it stood out to me during the intro.
Yeah, see? How you doing, Bobby? It's good to see you, man.
Yeah, I'm good. I'm tired, but that's an everyday occurrence for me, working on a morning show.
Yeah. I mean, like, morning shows are kind of like you get up at 3 a.m., right? And you're in the studio like super early. Like, what's like a normal day for you? How does that work?
Yeah, nothing. It's definitely not normal hours. So, like, yeah, I'm actually up by 4 a.m. So at least I get that extra hour of sleep. Makes a big difference. Into the office around 5. Then I have my first newscast around 6 a.m. Between that hour, I'm preparing that newscast, also preparing the stories I'm going to talk about for all of our radio stations' websites. And then I'm in the studio from 6 to 10 with the Boris and Robin show. I was just the newsman, but recently I became the third member of the morning show team. And so I'm in there during the whole morning show. And it's a lot of fun, but it's the hours are grueling. Like, it's a very easy job. I talk and type for a living. It's just I wake up so early. I don't have a set schedule because some days I teach at Marist College. Other days I'll
Mhm.
nap during the day, or I'll go to bed before a toddler goes to bed. Like my bedtime tonight is going to be 6 p.m. That is so
No way.
embarrassing. No, yeah, it's 6 p.m. And people are
Wow.
shocked to hear that, but when you're on 4 hours of sleep and you've been up for 13, 14 hours, you can eventually fall asleep that early.
Wow. That's wow.
Yeah,
my,
yeah.
my 4-year-old daughter goes to bed at like 8:30. So,
Oh,
you
and
know,
it's embarrassing. Like, I live in an apartment complex, and sometimes during the summer, I can hear the kids playing outside my window, and I'm laying in bed. It's like, this is so embarrassing. Like, how did this happen? But at the same time, I really do love the job. It's just with something great comes some negatives.
yeah, yeah. With great power comes great responsibility, I guess, right?
Remember, with great power comes great responsibility.
Are you afraid that I'm gonna turn into some kind of criminal?
Yeah, I was thinking. That's what I was kind of thinking. Yeah.
Yeah. So, like the summers must suck for you because like it's still daylight out at like 6:30, you know?
That's true. It's, easier to fall asleep at that time when it's dark out, and I don't mind. I hate winter as a season, but I don't mind the hours of the sun because my body now wakes up with the sun because I am up before the sun every morning. Like, that's hard to imagine that
Right.
I beat the sun no matter what
Right.
time of the year. Every morning, I'm up before the sun.
Wow. Man, I can't imagine getting up that early or going to bed that early. Like I'm a night owl myself, you know, like I like staying up kind of late. Normally like I'll stay up until like 11, 12 o'clock at night, and then I'll be up at 6. Like I
Oh,
know that's
that's
yeah.
still
That's
not enough sleep, but yeah, I'm actually a night owl myself as well, and I've been doing this job for almost 10 years, and I still haven't really
right.
gotten used to these hours. And my a problem of mine is like my bedtime is anytime between 6 p.m. and 11 p.m. depending on what's going on that day and night. So I still haven't gotten used to it. Like people say, "Oh, you get used to it." That's not true. I've talked to my coworkers.
No.
Not true. You maybe develop the ability to go to bed in an early hour, as I mentioned, but you still feel the
Yeah.
pain when that alarm goes off at 4 in the morning. No matter how much sleep you got, you're still tired because your body's not used to that 4 a.m. wake up.
Sure, sure. All right. So before we get into talking about the morning show, all right, let's backtrack a little bit. Let's talk a little bit about your earlier career because you went from being a sports newscaster on Cablevision to doing morning radio. How does that even happen? Because that's like totally two different genres, two different like, you started off like because I did a little research, I did a little stalking on social media, right? And so you started your sports anchor career back in 2006, where you
Oh,
were producing game of the week stuff and weekly sports packages for Cablevision. How was that? Like, how was your first forte into the field? Like, what did
oh,
you were super stoked because I know you from being a kid. You love sports. Like, sports is what
yes.
you
Oh, yeah.
you did, so
Yeah, you can
uh
see the Brooklyn Nets blanket right behind me right there. And I
right,
did that
right,
for
right.
our Brooklyn. I'm Brooklyn born, don't live in Brooklyn anymore, but I know you're Brooklyn proud as well, so I put that there on purpose.
Woo-hoo. Yeah,
Where
yeah.
Brooklyn at? Yeah, so, I it's a very tough field to get into, working on air. I got lucky where I did an internship at a local station near me, Wappingers Falls, called Cablevision News. They didn't have an
Mhm.
opening, but I impressed enough where they helped land my first job at a similar station down in North Jersey. At first, I was behind the scenes, shooting sports and editing sports highlights, all high school games. And
Mm.
then they knew I had some on-air aspirations, and they let me shadow the sports reporter. This guy
Okay.
happened to go to my college, SUNY Plattsburgh. We didn't know each other. He's a couple of years older than me, but he knew that I had the aspirations for this, and he kind of knew he was leaving. So he started to let me write his packages. And then as he was leaving, he suggested, "Hey, maybe you should let Bobby take over this role." And I did that, just one package a week. And then eventually they allowed me to become a sports anchor where I anchored a 30-minute sports show for them. and did a number of other behind the scenes stuff, producing Game of the Week, as you mentioned. Loved that job.
Mhm.
But then they stopped covering sports. A place called MSG Varsity started, which was owned by Cablevision, covering high school sports. So I
Right.
transferred.
You're a sideline reporter, right?
There we go. Yeah, transferred to MSG Varsity because I got an on-air position with that. Did that for
Mhm.
almost a year, and then turned out my boss in North Jersey became the boss where I interned. And the sports anchor who I interned for, he was leaving, and he thought I would be the perfect person to replace him. So
Wow.
applied for that job. I got it. And actually, one of the reasons why I think I got that job is during my final 2 weeks in Jersey, I worked as hard as possible. I didn't mail it in like a few coworkers did because a lot of us were leaving from MSU Varsity. Many mailed it in. I didn't. And it just goes to show you, you never know where your next opportunity is going to come. Because if I mailed it in and screwed my old boss over during my final 2 weeks, he probably wouldn't have given me the opportunity to become the sports anchor when he switched stations, and that was a much bigger role. I was the sports director for Cablevision News there, so I was anchoring
Yeah.
the sportscast for the news Monday through Friday, every single day. I was on air every single day, and that's when I really started to improve as a sports anchor. But
Wow.
you
I
want me?
mean,
I can continue the journey if you want me to go from there to how I got here at PDH.
no, I mean, like you said, you went to the MSG Varsity, and then you were anchoring the nightly sportscast on Cablevision from 2010 to 2013. And it's just you like it was funny because I remember watching your newscasts. Like I've seen your demo reels on YouTube, and
Cool.
I'm not in the area where your broadcast would be shown because you live in upstate New York
Yeah.
compared to where I am. But I've watched you through the years, and it's like it was super cool, man. To see you on TV and to see you like in a newsroom kind of environment, and it was just something that I had always, you know, not not envied, but it was like I was super excited for you, and because
Yeah. I
I knew
appreciate
how
that.
much you love sports, I know how much you loved what you did, and I was just happy for you. So we're gonna talk a little bit about sports later on. We're gonna talk a little bit about the Jets and some baseball, but and Aaron Rodgers. I'm sorry, but
Oh, 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 it hurts so much.
yeah. I know. But you actually got a position in 2013 with the MLB. Like, tell me about that. Like, how did you feel with that?
Yeah, that was so cool. So, unfortunately, at Cablevision News, when I was the sports anchor, out of nowhere, February 13th, I'll never forget the date, they said, we're not doing local news anymore. So, all of us got laid off,
Wow.
including my brother, who I had just convinced to move home to become a sports cameraman at my station. My parents convinced him, because I've been working there for 6 years and moving my way up. Out of nowhere,
Mhm.
they let us all go. Luckily, I got very
Oh,
lucky where I joke, I crushed the unemployment, and I got a job at MajorLeagueBaseball.com doing voiceover work for them. And that was to see my name and ID with Major League Baseball. That was so
yeah.
cool, like a trading card.
Right?
Yeah, that was only part time though, so I was able to land a job around that same time with CBS 6 up in Albany as the number 3 sports anchor there. So I was kind of doing both, and both were much bigger platforms than Cablevision. But I was commuting an hour and a
Mhm.
half to Albany or an hour and a half to
Wow.
New York City. Newburgh was kind of right in the middle, and I was commuting to
Yeah.
both. I loved the job. I did so many cool things. Like one of the highlights is I made tea with Paul O'Neill, Yankee great Paul
No
O'Neill.
way.
Yeah, we made tea together.
Oh,
Yeah.
wow. That's cool.
Yeah, so inside Yankee Stadium, I used to that was one of the coolest things I did for CBS 6 is I produced a Yankee pregame show. So I had to go
Right.
down the stadium and get interviews. And after I did all that, I'm on the media elevator and Paul O'Neill's there. And I was like, I gotta say something. Like I grew up loving the 90s Yankees.
Of course.
My AIM screen name was Bob Yankees. Huge Yankee fan.
Yeah.
So
Mhm.
we talked briefly in the elevator. About a half hour later, I'm in the media break room and about to make a coffee because I still have to drive all the way back up to Albany from the Bronx. And I hear someone behind me
Wow.
say, "Coffee time." I turn around, it's Paul O'Neill. And I explained to him, I was like, yes, I need a coffee. And he was like, I prefer tea. And I said, you know what, Paul? I actually did prefer tea, but I didn't know, I never knew they had tea here. He was like, oh, let me show you how to make tea here. And then we made tea together.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think many people can say that they made tea with Paul O'Neill.
Yeah, that's true.
I loved Paul O'Neill during those years that those Yankees in the 90s, like Paul
Oh,
O'Neill,
yeah.
Chuck Knobloch, like those guys were great.
Bernie and Jeter. Yeah.
Yeah.
Paul O'Neill, the Warrior.
So how do you go from doing sports to a morning news show? How does that happen?
Yeah. This is another crazy story. In this on-air world, you never know where your next opportunity is going to come, and you can't really say you're going to do this for a couple of years and then move up all the way up because there's nothing like that on the on-air world. So
Right.
during that time of CBS and MLB, I was picking up freelance shifts all over the Hudson Valley. I was covering Marist basketball. I'm in the media break room eating pizza, and a random person asked a Yankee trivia question. I wasn't at his table. No one knew the answer. It was, what's Derek Jeter's middle name? And I replied, Sanderson. The guy was impressed that I knew it and liked my voice. And I told him what I did, yada, yada, yada. He then said he was the program director for WRV in the Hudson Valley, which is owned by the same company as WPDH. He said WPDH is looking for a new person to be their news anchor. He's looking for a younger voice. So when I was 30 at the time, and he says, I think you're that person. So I sent him my resume, my reel, and a couple of days later, the program director of PDH called me, and I got the job. So,
Wow.
and I never saw myself doing radio, morning, or news. Before that, I was doing TV, sports, and nights. My
Right.
shifts,
That's
yeah,
what I mean.
yeah. My shifts at CBS were until midnight. My shifts at MLB were until 4 a.m. So this was a complete flip flop.
Wow.
Yeah. And but at the same time, while I do miss sports, this radio job it's been the most rewarding and the most fun job that I've had.
Wow, that's awesome. Well, speak of your voice, man. Like you do have a voice for broadcasting. You really do. Like I was
Thank you.
listening to your show this morning on WPDH, and I was thinking to myself, I'm like, wow, he would be great. Like I would listen to an audiobook with him reading it.
Oh,
Like
thank you, thank
you
you.
should narrate audiobooks. Like I can understand why, like they would hire you because you have a great radio voice. You really do. Like,
Thank you.
is it something? And I've interviewed a bunch of radio personalities over the past season, and I've asked every single one of them, is the voice something you put on, or is it something natural that happens?
I don't know what the others said, but for me, it's natural. Just lucky to have a voice that some people enjoy. I personally don't even really hear it, but people tell me what you say, and it's
Right.
not something I can fake. Like I actually also teach now at Marist College, and one of my
Mhm.
students told me she thought I was faking my voice the first class, and then as the semester went on, she was like, "There's no way he could keep this up the entire semester." And the only thing I would say is when I am on air, I'm a fast talker, as you could probably tell. I try to slow
Yeah.
down my voice when I'm on air to make sure that I'm pronouncing all the words correctly, which I still sometimes will talk too fast and stumble. But that's the one thing I try to do is just slow down and enunciate more than when I'm having a normal
Right.
conversation.
And I was thinking the same thing where like he's talking not too slow, but he's talking slow enough for me to listen and understand. And you do enunciate every single like word, every syllable. So good job. Good job.
Well, thank you. And that's the key. Like with broadcasting right for the year, our listeners can't rehear what I said. So they had one opportunity, and who knows what they're doing while listening. So I tried to do what I can to make sure that they get the news in a timely and concise fashion.
Yeah, yeah, because I remember listening to the radio a lot, and the DJs would go through like for a contest, they would go through the phone number like really quickly, and it was like, what was the number for that? Like 917-719, 1242, and it's,
We would have to
it's just
record it on our boom boxes and then play it back to try to get that
yeah.
number. Kids don't know what that was like. Having
I
to
did
wait
a
on the
whole
radio to yeah. Yeah.
yeah, but like listening to the radio, catching it at just the right time, so you don't
Exactly, yep.
record. Yeah, yeah, I remember that. Oh man, so man, you get up at 4 a.m. You get up before the sun. So in 2009, you got a Telly Award. Talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, that was something, while I was working at Cablevision, my first job, doing all the sports high school shows, during the summer breaks, they had to find new stuff for me to do because I was full time. So I worked on our kind of a news magazine show. It was longer form stories about things going on in the North Jersey, Lower Hudson Valley area. I realized that the scene of the final Sopranos, where they ordered onion rings, was right there in our coverage area at Holston's, and we had never done a story about it. So, and I realized people were still going there almost every single day to sit at that table where Tony Soprano ordered onion rings. So I went there, covered the story, got lucky that there were some regulars there that gave me some great sound bites, found out that they're not even known for their onion rings, that they're known for their burgers and their ice cream. Their onion rings are bought at a store, frozen, and they just deep fry it. And just
That's
for
just
some
funny.
reason, David Chase, yeah, for some reason, their ice cream and the burgers are really good. Onion rings, onion rings, and for some reason, that's what David Chase of The Sopranos decided that Tony Soprano was going to order. And they say nonstop, everyone that came in had to order onion rings, and the whole place just reeked of onion rings because everyone was ordering it.
Oh man, yeah, it's funny because I was gonna ask you like, what's the craziest or funniest story that you've ever had with one of your newscasts, and like, is that one of them? Like,
That definitely is one of them. But actually, the thing I like about this morning show newscast that I do is because it's a morning show. Like I deliver the local news that everyone needs to know, and then I always
Mhm.
end on a funny story or a crazy story. And there is no shortage. You wouldn't believe it. There's no shortage of stories of funny, weird stories that just happen every single day that I just happen to find.
I
And
believe
they
it.
they like just this week, I reported on a woman from Canada who got over 1,000 boxes of condoms delivered to her from Amazon that
Yes, I
she
remember.
swears she didn't order. You heard that?
Yeah, yeah, and then who was it?
Yeah.
Was it you or Boris who said that maybe it was her son?
Yep. Yes, exactly. Maybe it was
Yeah,
her son who ordered it by accident. Yeah.
right.
That turned out to be some third party merchant like hacked into people's systems and was just delivering unsold items, and she was charged for it. Eventually, Amazon did refund her for it. But it's just
Wow.
almost every single day I find stories like that. Some days are better than others, but every single day I find these ridiculous stories that are just that's my favorite thing to report on or something that's going to make something laugh or make someone cringe or shake their head.
Well, sure. I mean, those are the funniest stories. It's funny because I've done other shows, and I went on this one podcast called Dad's Worldwide, and every now and then he likes to do funny, silly, stupid episodes, right? From what he calls them, and so you're supposed to get like news articles from around the world that are funny, silly, stupid, and so like I know the amount of stupid news that is out there, and
Oh yeah.
I love that you incorporate that into your broadcast. I really do.
That's my favorite part. The only thing is my mom listens every morning. Uncle Nicky listens many mornings, sometimes Uncle Richie. And every once
Right,
in a while is a more sexual story because it's a classic rock station. It's meant
right.
for 18 and up. And every once in a while, my mom or one of my uncles will text me about that story. And I was like, oh, I was like, I'd rather not hear that from my family
Like, oh
member.
no, oh no,
Yeah, it's
like
like, oh, yeah.
yeah, yeah. I don't want to hear your answer to what this would
Yeah,
be. No,
yeah.
Like,
I didn't need to know that. Yeah.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Oh man. So tell me a little bit about the Welber zone. Like what's the Welber zone? Like I've heard Boris talk about this a bunch of times. And so what is it?
Yes. So I do 4 newscasts each morning, 5 days a week, 1 Welber
Mhm.
Zone a week, every Friday, 8:45, and somehow I'm more well known for this Welber Zone. And it's like it's a sports segment, but not about like what happened in the game or box scores or injuries. It's more of the lighter side of sports, like something funny or crazy that happened. One
Mhm.
of the reasons why I think it's well known is because it's got a memorable theme song. I had nothing to come up with it. One of our old producers, Mike, it took the theme song to Highway to the Danger Zone, and he
Nice.
belts out Highway to the Welber Zone. And because of that theme song, I think it's become so popular. Uh, my brother was at a tire store, and the worker there noticed the name. He's like, "Oh my god, are you Welber Zone?" And he's like, "No, that's my brother." And then he sang the theme song to my brother. And I love that. And even like my elementary school gym teacher sees me at the gym, and he'll scream Welber Zone or sing the theme song to me. Yeah, but it's become a
Yeah,
weekly segment.
you have to get it professionally done, you know?
Maybe,
The
yeah,
song.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And I always, like I said, it's 4 stories, and then I end it with a kinda like a funnier story as well every week. This week, I'll give you a little spoiler. It's about a Buffalo Bills fan who, covered in feces, naked, hopped over a fence and fell into a pit.
Oh, no.
And yeah, he's okay, but yeah, that's what happened. And the one thing about the Wilburton I enjoy is my, coworker, Boris, once mentioned to me, so you kind of need a close, a way to end the Welber zone. And I just started saying, "You're now leaving my zone," which I still do. But then I listened to a bunch of podcasts, and I love MTV The Challenge. I used to watch the Real World Road Rules, and I still watch The Challenge. And my favorite
Mm.
challenger, Wes, I listen to too many podcasts with him. He ends every podcast the same way that the Smartless people end their podcast, that saying bye. So I did that one time, and Boris hated it so much that I was like,
Mhm.
I'm doing it every single time now. And that's what I do. I end every Welber zone with that bye.
Wow. That's that's not irritating at all.
Not to me.
How is your brother JR doing? Is he still working for
Yeah, he
WWE?
is. He's grinding, doing a bunch of we unfortunately actually just got laid off this past week. Yeah,
Oh,
WWE and UFC
oh
merged,
no.
and formed a new company, and with that became a lot of layoffs. And unfortunately, he was involved in that layoff. He's got a nice severance, and he's just looking for more video producing work. He's a very good editor, very good video producer. So I'm sure he'll land on his feet sometime soon. But for him, it was
Awesome.
nice. We grew up watching WWE, and we all kind of got out of it. And then he had to watch all the time. And there's so much WWE going on these days. They have so much
Sure.
programming.
Yeah.
But other than that,
Yeah.
he's doing well.
I should get him on the show because, I want to talk about the state of the WWE nowadays. Um
Yeah.
because I'm not happy with it. But but
I've actually
yes.
become their no, I was gonna say I like their
Go ahead.
competition more, AEW.
Yes. Yes. Yeah. Yeah. AEW reminds me more of the Attitude Era back in the 90s,
Yes,
so
I could agree with that, yeah.
yeah. But yeah, so if anybody's watching or listening, if you need a video editor, JR is your guy. Basement Surge, I need somebody to edit my video, so I might give him a call.
Oh, perfect.
Yeah, yeah. But it was funny because I was researching you for the show, and I was trying to find some video clips to play during the show, and you totally scared the crap out of me this morning. About
Sorry.
what had happened. Um, I didn't want to get you. But so I had come across a video that was Boris interviewing you when you had first started at WPDH,
Oh, boy,
and
yeah. I
I
know
was
this
like, "Oh,
video,
this
yeah.
is yeah, I was like, "Oh, this is gonna be great. All right, I'll watch it. I'll get a little insight into it and into him, and it'll be a good video." But like he didn't even ask you anything.
No, yeah, the video is just him saying when I get to know Bobby Welber, and he puts the microphone in my face and just stares at me. And he didn't tell me he was going to do this, but instantly I knew the shtick. I knew what he was doing. So
Yeah.
I stared back for a little bit and then did a little bit of Jim Halpert look into the camera. And I was like, and then that was it. And I I think that's one of the reasons why he knew maybe right away that I might be good for this job. And
Yeah.
he actually once said I think it was drunk. It was on a Friday night. He posted on Facebook that I was his greatest hire. Yeah, he probably wouldn't say that sober, but I'll never forget that because he wrote on Facebook and it was there. It was on my 5-year anniversary. So, uh, and he'll probably listen to this, so he might be upset that I even said that, but it was
Well,
true. He wrote
good.
it.
Hi, Boris. How you doing?
Hi, Boris.
No, like I thought it was hilarious, and I love those little videos that you guys had done early on, because I was looking through your YouTube channel on WPDH, and you guys did something called a pre-show show. That was where your video had come about,
Yep.
where I seen it. And you guys were putting out some pretty great content on YouTube. Do you guys implement a lot of video work within the studio?
When I first started there, we did a lot of video work, and YouTube was a big thing for us that we had to produce videos. One of the reasons I got hired was because of my experience working on TV, my experience of using a camera and editing. We did
Yeah.
that for a little bit, and they also had us write articles. And then they realized that in terms of monetizing it, we are better suited focusing on writing more articles than producing and working on videos. So we all kind of stopped doing the videos, and really the digital took off. Like I love my job. I love being on air, but I'm actually more successful when it comes to the digital side of
Right.
at Town Square Media.
Yeah, because you get like millions of views on your articles. Like millions of people read your stuff, and it's amazing.
They do, and that's still crazy to me because none of my coworkers, we're not writers. We're on air personalities, on air broadcasters who then were told we needed to write, and we write more conversationally because that's how we talk, and that's how you write for the ear. And we've all improved as writers, but we're still not real journalists. But Town Square Media was pretty smart, where they're only in mid markets and smaller markets where there might not be a lot of media coverage, and where a lot of local newspapers charge. So they decided it's like we can cover the same stories because we're getting the same information, and we won't charge. And maybe the audience will like to read this because it is written more conversationally because we don't have that journalism background. And I think my inexperience helped with my success digitally because I would pick an article to write and then figure out my headline is like, what makes this article interesting to me? And I would humanize the headline, make the headline, is some would say clickbait, but in my eyes,
Right.
I was told it's not clickbait if the headline is explained in the article. We don't want to give the article away in the headline because we want you to click. We want you to read the article. So if we give the
Right.
headline away, give the story away in the headline, that you're not going to click. So just having that inexperience of never working on a newspaper, I was able to have a lot of success digitally because I figured out a way to make my headlines enticing.
Yeah. Wow. I mean, do you use AI at all?
Not really. I know there are new AI tools, and I've tried it a little bit, but for me at least, I think the headlines that I can come up with are better than what AI has come up with for my suggestions. But AI is always improving, so I'm sure that it may come to a point where I will use it more often. But for now, I just go with what I think works. And that's one of the I really
Yeah.
enjoy it. I love being on air, but I also enjoy making engaging content that people will interact with. And it really all comes to that headline. Like you write the article and then figure out what's going to make people engage with this. And it's all about that headline.
Yeah. Getting that CTA, that call to action,
Exactly. Yep.
like trying to get people to comment, like, share, all that stuff, And it's you've been doing a great job. Like I've been seeing the stats, like millions of people have been reading your blog, your articles, and it's amazing.
Yeah,
It really
it's
is.
wild. Like Town Square Media has about 600 contributors across all of Town Square, across the nation of all the radio stations that they own. And I've been the number
Yeah.
one digital contributor for 5 straight years running, 6 straight years running, and it's just something I don't know. I would never expected this. Like if you would have talked to me years ago before this job when I was doing sports, I was like, "There's no way I'm gonna be working on the radio and writing online articles every single morning."
Right.
But here we are.
So while you're doing the show with Boris and Robin, you're sitting there with your laptop just typing away, like when you're quiet.
Exactly. That's how like songs are playing or commercials. And
Right.
Boris and Robert are great. They are radio legends. They've been doing this for so long, so they know how to get a show going. And I'm there just to interact when needed. So I'm the third personality, so they know
Yeah.
if they need me or don't need me. So because I have to write more than most people because I'm technically the news director more than they do. So I'm doing it all, but it's not. Boris has made it so it's not much more work for me. Like it's more work, but it's because of the way Boris has made it. It's not that much more work.
Oh, it's awesome, man. Because listening to the show every morning, like I told you, I've been listening to the show every day, and you guys sound like you have great chemistry together. So it's a great show. I love the format too. I love that you guys do more talk than music format, kind of, because I listen to a lot of the other professional radio stations, and they play more music than they do talk, and I love listening to the talk radio in the morning. I love
Hmm.
listening to you guys where you talk about things that are happening within around your area, or things happening around the world, and so I love the more talk of your show. And I really have to give kudos to Boris for setting up the format like that. um is there anything on the show that has happened, because I know, like, you have shown up on Halloween as the only person dressed in costume, right?
Well, that the first year, yes, it was my first year working there, and I thought it's a radio station. I was like, everyone's gonna be dressing up, and I got to work. I love Halloween. Like it's one of my favorite holidays. Every year, I try to
Yeah,
find a great
I
costume.
know. I follow you on Instagram.
Yeah, thank you, thank you. I don't know what I'm being this year. I've been racking my brain because Halloween's coming up, but I came to
Yeah.
work and no one else was dressed up, and I was like, "Oh, this is awkward." And then I was like, "I'm gonna make it my thing. I'm coming to work on Halloween dressed up every single year." Boris and Robin still don't dress up, but we have other morning shows going on at the same time, and I'm not the only one now who dresses up. But on PDH, I'm still the only one who dresses up.
Yeah.
And actually, so with that, it made me think of one of my like some interesting thing that happens with us. Like my third day of work ever was wear pajamas to work day. And
Okay.
I have a Muppets on Abbey Road, the Beatles cover.
Yes.
It's with a Muppets tank top. I was like, this is a perfect shirt to wear for a classic rock station. And I had Scooby Doo pajama pants. So I wore that, and third day of work, and still to this day, people think I wear a tank top to work every single day. And I've only ever wore a tank top to work that day, and if it applies to my Halloween costume. But Boris still will randomly put in about me wearing a tank top to work every single day.
Well, you got to show off the guns.
Well, yeah,
So.
thank you. I work hard for those. So
You go to the gym a lot, do you?
I do. It was something I started in college, and when I played a brief about a college baseball, and it got me into the gym. One semester, and that was D3. I realized I was going nowhere with it. So, but it got me into the gym, and I've made it a part of my life since then. My
Good.
goal is I can't have a dad bod until I'm like you and have children until I'm a dad. So, and it gets harder and harder.
Whoa, wait a minute. Wait a minute. I don't know if I just got insulted. Oh,
Dad bod. I'm not saying that you have a
sorry.
dad bod. Yeah. Yeah, I'm not saying that you have a dad bod. I meant that I don't wanna have a dad bod until I'm like you, a dad. So
Right.
it gets
Okay.
harder and harder to do that when you get into your late 30s. But luckily, the
Yeah.
gym is just part of like it's become part of my life where you're able helps de-stress. You had a bad day, and the gym takes your mind off of that, and then you can enjoy the rest of your day without focusing on whatever was annoying you.
I get that, because a couple years ago I was going to the gym religiously. Every day I was getting up at like 5 a.m., going to the gym, and then doing the dad thing where, bring the kids to school, kind of, doing the day, and but I would get up super early, go to the gym and do my workout. I was drinking protein shakes and I was eating healthy. I was eating like a beast because I've been super skinny like my whole life, and I wanted to gain. I wanted to build up some mass, So I was googling stuff like diets and stuff like that, and workouts, and so I was getting kind of big, and I was like, all right, well, at the time I didn't really see a difference. It's weird because for me, I guess like you look at yourself every day in the mirror, and you don't really see the progression,
Yeah, that's
or
true.
at least I did, you know, and but I was working out like a beast every day, lifting heavy weights, eating like a maniac, and I was eating so much protein shakes, supplements, all this stuff. I was pretty jacked, um, and I didn't notice it until after I stopped going to the gym. That I looked back a year later at pictures of me when I was going to the gym, where I was like, wow, I was pretty jacked. Like I should have kept this up. Like,
Yeah, I think that's everyone. You don't notice it until afterwards, like, "Oh, wait a second. No, that did work."
yeah, yeah, and it's funny because through all the photos that I've seen of you, whether it be at work or on your vacations, on your cruises or whatever, you always look pretty jacked. You look like you take care of yourself, and it's good because you need to stay healthy,
Yeah, thank you.
and
But
yeah.
before I joke, is like they're like popcorn muscles. Like I'm skinny like you, so I was able to get good definition and cut, but I'm not that strong. Like people ask me to move, or my
Right.
brother who doesn't work out, he's stronger than I am because he's just a bigger guy. And it's just like I
Mhm.
said, like kind of like popcorn muscles. They're there, but they're for show
Yeah.
and
I,
mini
I
mini.
I always had a problem building up my chest, my pecs. I always had a problem with that.
Me too.
But yeah. But it hasn't been until recently, I think, that I want to say like the past 5 years, 6 years, well, that I've really been getting into baseball, right? And I remember back when I was little, going to Aunt Anna's house, your grandma's house, where, she would always have the baseball games on Sundays for Sunday dinners, and so I remember baseball being familial, being part of
Mhm.
the family kind of thing. You guys were always Met fans or Yankee fans, and I think I remember from when I was younger that part of the family were Dodger fans back in the day when the Dodgers were here in Brooklyn.
Yes.
And so I was like, all right, well, I bought the MLB package, so I can watch any game I want. And so I'm like, all right, I got to pick a team. Now, I'm sorry to say, I don't like any New York teams.
How dare? How dare?
Okay. Like I don't know, Yankees to me seem like the game's a little rigged, like they're always winning kind of thing. They always get the best players. Like I'm like, all right. I like the underdogs. I like the guys who like to fight for it. Kind of like the Mets.
Yeah.
The Mets, they fight every season for it. They do a great job. But years ago, like I became a Dodger fan, and I've been following them ever since. So now I'm a pretty big Los Angeles fan, and the only way I get to watch Dodger games is through the MLB package because, it's not regional. And, so you and the family, you guys are Met fans, right?
I'm a Yankee fan. My dad's a Yankee fan. Uncle Richie and Nicky, they're Mets fans, and my brother became a Mets fan through that. Thankfully,
Okay.
they failed at making me a Mets fan. They were successful with making me a Jets fan, and Uncle
Right.
Richie one Christmas said to me, and I'll never forget this, "I'm so sorry for ruining your life," direct quote, "ruining your life and making you a Jets fan." So, thankfully,
Wow.
my dad was a Yankee fan. He didn't really watch football, so thankfully, he steered me to the pinstripes, and I got to enjoy all those championships as a kid and during my teenage
Yeah.
years. Uh, but Uncle Richie, would call when I was a kid, would call me and tell me to put the Mets channel on because Mickey Mouse and Donald Duck were there. I would flip over to the Mets channel. They weren't there. And he's like, "Oh, just keep watching. Keep watching. They're gonna come back. They're gonna come back." Because he thought if I kept
Uh,
watching the games, I would become a Mets fan, like I became a Jets fan
right.
because we would watch them at Sunday dinner down in Brooklyn.
That's hilarious.
And thankfully, it didn't work with the Mets, but it did work with the Jets.
Wow. Like the Jets, the Jets have been having a hard time recently. Aaron Rodgers, like you and I spoke a little bit about this before the show, and um, Aaron Rodgers had a rough time.
Mm.
Okay. Zach, what do you think of Zach Wilson? What do you think of him, first of all?
In the 2 years of watching him, I haven't seen anything really that I like. I know he's got the arm, but he hasn't shown anything yet that he can be a good quarterback in the NFL. As I wanna be optimistic, I still hope back about what he had on college, that tape he had on college. Chris Sims, an NFL analyst, picked him as the top quarterback in that NFL draft, and he's been right a
Mhm.
lot of times, so I'm hopeful that maybe he can figure it out, and the goal was for him to learn from Aaron Rodgers over the next couple years and then
Right.
maybe become the franchise quarterback. It wasn't planned where he would have to come in 4 plays into the season and be the quarterback because the Jets are so good. That's what hurts. Like Aaron Rodgers, he just got jetted. The Jets are so good everywhere but the most important position, and that's quarterback.
Are they?
Yeah, well,
Are they?
they got a great defense, a great wide receiver in Garrett Wilson, great running back in Breece Hall. Their offensive line is, but they're really good other than that quarterback position. And
Yeah.
that's what made the Aaron Rodgers Achilles so demoralizing. Because
Right.
even as if you're a pessimistic Jets fan, he's like, "Oh, he's not gonna do good, or maybe he's gonna get hurt." You didn't expect it to be 4 plays in before he ever completed a pass.
Mhm. Yeah. 4 plays on the
Yeah.
first game after being traded.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah, and I watched Hard Knocks. I've listened to a lot of interviews with Aaron Rodgers. I wasn't the biggest Rodgers fan before. I loved him off on the field. I wasn't the biggest fan of what
right.
he would say off the field, but that was a lot of times I figured out it was stuff taken out of context. But seeing him on Hard Knocks, listening to full interviews with him, I really like fell in love with this guy. Like he has got a personality that's similar to mine, similar to yours. Like he's kind of our age, and
Mhm.
he really took to New York, and that's why it made it hurt even more, the fact that I really like this guy. It's like, "Oh my god, it's so easy to root for him after learning more about his personality."
Do you think he would have pulled a Brady where he would have joined the Jets and then retired after a season?
No, because he said multiple times in interviews before the injury that the Jets gave up so much to get me that he's not looking at it as a one and done thing. He's looking at it as a couple of years. And he said that he's vowed to come back and he's hoping to play next season. There are some reports that think that there might be an outside shot of him coming back this year. I'm putting no hope in that because I don't want to get my hopes up because his injury takes it takes almost a year to heal. So I don't know if he's going to come
Sure.
back this year, but all I needed to hear was that he's going to play next year. So at least we have that. The Mets fans used to say, wait till next year. And I think maybe the Brooklyn Dodgers as well. Here I am. Thank you, Uncle Richie, Uncle Nicky.
uh, speaking of Brady, I want to read a little bit of this article to you that I had read earlier about Tom Brady appears to have made a decision on the Jets. Okay, because apparently there was a little talk about him coming out of retirement and replacing Rodgers on the Jets. Tom Brady wants everyone to know that he has no interest in playing for the New York Jets. Brady shut down that possibility during an episode of his Let's Go podcast when his co-host Jim Gray asked if the Jets had reached out. He said, "No, no, no. Next question." Okay. He goes, "You already know I love being with you guys on Mondays and I love what we got going on." So, it's funny because I kind of expected him to come out of retirement for something like this, because he's done it before. Like he's always cried wolf with retirement before, and I kind of expected him to kind of take advantage of the situation.
I'll tell you what, Tom Brady is probably the person the NFL player that I root against the most, but that's also out of jealousy. And after that Monday night win, when they came back to beat the Bills, and I realized like they had such a good team, but I knew Rodgers was going to be done for the year. I said it. I was like, as much as I would hate it, I would make a deal with the devil, and I would be okay if they got Brady. I also said if they got Brady and he got hurt, I would be okay with that too, because I've always
Oh, sure.
I'm not a vicious person, but I would not have mind to see Tom Brady get hurt in any of the seasons he played with the Patriots or the Bucks. So, but when Brady came out that he's enjoying retirement and he has no intentions of playing, I was like, okay, that's probably better, because it would be tough to root for him. But I want to see the Jets win that badly that I would root for him if push came to shove.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I agree with you. And I'm kind of in the same boat, where I think that, if Brady went to the Jets, I think I would have to start following Jets, because I want to see what he does. I would want to see what he does with that. But that brings me to my point where, like for football, like I said, I have never been a New York fan of any New York teams, so, and that includes football. So football, I didn't like Jets. I don't like Giants, so for me, I was a New England fan
Oh,
for like 15, 20 years.
yeah, pick the best team in
Right.
football. Why don't you?
but yeah, but like this is when Brady was young, like I didn't start liking Patriots New England when Brady was in his prime, kind of, like when with all the hype, I wasn't jumping on a bandwagon, like I actually liked the Patriots because I like the Patriots, and I thought they were a good team, and I could watch their games, up here in the Northeast. But then it was funny because I remember one day I was at work and my wife calls me up and she tells me Brady just retired from the Patriots. I'm like, oh no.
Oh, I was so happy with that. That was one of the very happy days for me until
Yeah, I'm sure it was. Right. And then I had heard that he went to Tampa Bay. And of course my father-in-law, who lives in Pennsylvania, he's a huge Tampa Bay fan. And so he was like shoving it in my face, haha, we got Brady, kind of thing, but I was like, all right, I guess I have to follow, Tampa Bay now. I didn't really stick with the Patriots only because I don't really like Belichick.
Oh, I don't
Okay.
either.
Okay. I don't think that, he's a nice guy. Like, he looks, I kind of think that there's more of the story with him and Brady behind the scenes than what they tell us, so I think that there's a lot of drama with him. But now that Brady's retired, like I kind of feel like my loyalty going back to New England, and because I don't like anybody else. I really don't.
Well, you mentioned it's probably gonna be tough for you if you do like the Patriots and have liked them in the past, but you mentioned you like rooting for an underdog. There's no bigger
Yeah.
underdog than the New York Jets. Like And so
Don't try
that
to
could be
convert me, Bobby.
yeah. I mean, welcome to the life of misery. Like it is insane. I've taught myself like I don't curse in real life because I don't want to curse on the air. The only time I really
Right.
curse is when I watch the goddamn Jets.
Oh man, it's funny because every single time I see a Jets game on TV, like I think about you, I think about all those other fans of the Jets, because I know a couple of the people who love the Jets, and they're hardcore fans. Like they paint their faces, like they'll go to the ends of the earth for the Jets, and like they're not that good. Like,
No, they've had a few good seasons throughout my lifetime, but typically they are not good. I was actually in
yeah.
attendance for the butt fumble game on
See,
Thanksgiving.
I've never been to a football game.
Oh
I've
wow.
never been to an actual football game, so I would love to go one day. I don't even care if it's a Jets game or a Giants game.
Yeah, no, they're a lot of fun, except for the butt fumble game.
Yeah. Oh man, but I mean, as far as baseball goes, like I love Dodgers, St. Louis. I like watching St. Louis and the Expos. I actually like the Expos. Um, those are a couple of teams that I like watching on MLB. But I just recently started getting into collecting baseball cards. Do
Mm.
you collect?
No, I did as a kid, but I haven't since then. But I feel like they're coming back. I feel like they're getting base card collecting is more popular, or just I'm just learning that it's always still been popular.
Yeah, it's apparently from what I've seen, it's always been popular, and people try to get the cards that of the players that are rare, like Judge, and so it's just um for me, like I got a behind me on that shelf, I got a whole binder full of baseball cards. I spent like $1,000 on cards on boxes.
Yeah,
I'm, I'm like I have to collect them all. It's kind of like Pokemon,
I'm sure
but
your wife loves that. I'm sure your wife loves that hobby of yours.
yeah, it's funny because she kind of encourages me.
Oh wow,
you know,
there you go.
yeah,
You picked a good
yeah.
person
So
then. She gets you.
yeah, yeah, like she'll sit down and watch the games with me. I watch Dodger games. She'll watch oh my god, Padres games.
Okay, San Diego.
Uh yeah, she likes San Diego. And it's funny because another podcaster that we're friends with, Chris from Podtastic Audio, he's from San Diego. So, he's constantly actually going to the Padre games and shoving it in my wife's face. So
That's
um
cool. That's a very nice park. I went to a couple of games there. I had friends who lived out in San Diego. It's a nice like
nice.
little stadium out there. And San Diego it's beautiful.
Nice. All right, Bobby. We've reached the point in the show where we're gonna do a little thing I like to call the pod deck segment. Where this one is the interview deck, third edition.
Very cool.
Okay, I'm gonna pick a card here at random, and I'm gonna ask you a question. All right. If you could bankrupt one person or company, who would it be?
Tom Brady. Yeah, that was easy. That was easy.
Wow. Okay.
Didn't have to think about that one.
That was quick, man. That was
Yeah.
quick.
Would hurt Brady, and I would get a lot of money.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I think for me, I think I would bankrupt Target.
Target, yeah. You'd probably make more money than I would, but I would get the satisfaction of
Right.
Tom Brady being broke. And then maybe he'd have to go back to the Jets. He'd have to sign with the Jets because he would need money.
Oh no.
Levels
Oh,
to
no.
it. Levels to it.
Oh no. Wow, hating on Brady. I never thought this would come to the basement surge. All right, the next deck is the how dare you.
Oh, how dare you?
How dare you? Let's see. Was there ever a time in your life that you thought you were going to die?
Uh, Not really. But I guess one of the worst experiences of my life was going back to one of my first years working on the radio. We had to try. We were promoting our wing wars, where like all the local restaurants, breweries that made wings would
Mhm.
showcase their best, and what ended up winning the hottest wing every year is called a euthanasia wing. There was a setup where it was me, Robin, our producer, and our program director, and we were told 1 out of 4 was gonna get the wing. Boris wasn't involved. I was new to radio, so I didn't see this coming, but nor did Robin somehow, and all 4 of us had that hot wing, and let me tell you,
All four of
all
you?
4 of us had the hot wing, and it was the hottest thing I've ever experienced. I took 1 bite. I almost puked on the air. I couldn't talk because my throat felt like it was
Oh,
closing, and
wow.
I couldn't eat all just from 1 bite, and I couldn't eat anything for the rest of the day. And then the next day, you know what happens after that, like, it was not a pleasant
Yeah.
experience in the bathroom, and so I don't really know if it was near death, but it was a really bad situation.
Wow. Have you ever done that one chip challenge?
No, I haven't. I've seen videos and whatnot, but after doing that wing, I don't wanna try, and I understand some of their pain.
Wow. All right. All right. All right. So the last question today is from the WTF deck. What the
Alright.
fuck deck? All right. Let's pick a random card here. There. What's the most ridiculous fact that you know?
About
How is that
myself
even?
or
It just says, "What's the most ridiculous fact that you know?"
alright, well, I'll give you something that's ridiculous that not many people know. This is about me. I've
Okay.
never said this before in any I'm actually this is one of my first interviews ever, first one about me, but
Woo!
I've never said this before. I make a living in broadcasting. In elementary school, I went to speech therapy. There were certain words and letters that I couldn't say. I couldn't pronounce my brother John, couldn't say his word, his name.
Mhm.
Uh, Thankfully, my parents got me a speech therapist. And before I was in elementary school, I was talking regularly. And now I make a living with my voice.
That's amazing.
Yeah,
Congratulations.
thank you. Thank you. It's
Like,
kind of crazy.
seriously. Like, I'm proud of you. That's awesome.
Thank you. Thank you.
That's so great.
Yeah, I don't think
All
probably
right.
when we were younger, I don't think I was able to say John.
You know, I don't even remember.
Yeah. No, I don't know if I could, but it's like I probably struggled with John. I was 2 J's in there.
Yeah.
I
Wow.
I doubt people call you John anymore or on the podcast
They
ever.
do.
Oh, really?
They do.
That's
I
fantastic.
am 40 years old, 40 years old, and people still call me John John.
That's great.
Oh, man. Let's see. Is there anything I forgot to talk to you about? You're teaching. You're teaching. All right. So talk to me a little bit about the teaching. Okay, because like I think that that's awesome that you basically followed in the family's footsteps of being an educator. Um, so tell me a little bit about that.
Yeah, I mean, you're right. Like my mom was a teacher, my uncles were teachers. So I always thought in the back of my head, maybe that's something I would go for. I always thought broadcasting or a phys ed teacher. But working in radio, yeah, I mean, like, I love sports. Going back to that, I was just looking for a side hustle. Working in radio, I get out so early, and Marist College in Poughkeepsie, which is right down the road from a radio station, they were looking for a sports broadcasting professor, someone who had experience in the industry. And I read
Mm,
the description. I was like, they are looking for someone just like me. I applied and I got the job right away. It was also like in August, so I think they were desperate for somebody because the semester was starting. And I've been doing it
mhm.
for about 7 years, teaching 1 class a semester. I now teach more news, broadcast news writing, or producing the newscast. But it's been a lot of fun, and the students they are all juniors and seniors. they have to take electives to get to this class. So they all want to be in this class. And they seem to really listen to me and respect me because I do what they hope to do. And it's been cool to see some of my students who are now work in the broadcast industry. Some of them are reporters and writers and all that. So it's really cool, rewarding to see them succeed because it's a very tough field.
Yeah. Well, it's funny because, from what you had just said about speech therapy to being on TV to being on the radio to public speaking in front of a classroom, like you should be super proud of yourself.
Thank you.
Like it's amazing. Yeah. Like you're doing great. And I think that's, your career, the span of your career, I think is the reason why I invited you to come on the show, and I'm so happy that you and I got a chance to talk.
Yeah, it's been a lot of fun. It's we haven't caught up in a while, so we got to do this in person, have a beer sometime soon in person.
Absolutely. A beer or, 3 or 4.
Exactly,
okay.
Yeah.
All right, everybody. If you want to check out what Bobby is doing currently, do me a favor, head on over to WPDH.com and you can listen to him from 6 a.m. to 10 a.m. in the morning every day on the Boris and Robin Morning Show. You can also listen to him on the app that they have for 101.5 with WPDH. They have their very own app. I need an app. I want an app. Okay, like I want to make this happen. So go check it out. He's live every day from 6 a.m. to 10 a.m. Monday through Friday on 101.5 WPDH. You can also listen to The Basement Surge on your favorite podcast listening apps, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, wherever the hell you listen to podcasts, we're there. I guarantee it. Okay, we are all over the place. We'll listen to in something like 50 different countries and 500 different cities. Go listen. Hit that follow button. Hit that subscribe button, all right? We're also over on YouTube, so do me a favor, hit that subscribe button. Go follow us over there. You can watch this episode over on YouTube, so go check it out. Bobby, thank you very much for joining me today.
Thanks for having me. Bye! Had to.
Oh, God. Bobby, stick around for the green room after.
Yeah.
Thank you very much, everybody. I'll see you next week.
Let's go. Turn up the volume. From the basement of the Empire State, this is the Basement Surge.
3, 2, 1.